Okay, so basically my goal is today is to teach an art class as if I were teaching somebody who has no experience drawing at all. And this is because in my experience I've had to teach a lot of kids, especially really young kids, how to draw. So I'm just going to assume today that you all know how to hold a pencil and skip that part. Okay, so this is just a quick exercise that we're going to do. It's actually going to be easier if I take off my bracelet. And really, it's just to help with your movement. So I like to draw a dot, and oh wait, the whole paper is not on camera. There's the dot. Interesting. So what is on camera? There. Alright, I'm just gonna put a line where my shot is. Let's make sure I stay underneath that. Okay. Oh, and there's some weird shadows happening. Why? I think my window's dirty. What is that shadow from? I feel like that's distracting. Like this dot? What the heck is making that shadow?
It's not a shadow, I don't think.
Let's put the blinds up more. Oh, that's
Oh, there's a shadow. Yeah, it's something on the window. Dirty.
Oh, right here. Okay, that's not coming off. Damn. Baba, that's a problem. Is it that? What the heck? Interesting, weird. Alright, I'm just gonna move my camera. The light is better over here. Sorry. Yes, thank you, Technicolor, for being here, for sure. I can always count on you, because you're so amazing. Okay. So that line on the top of the paper, that's just my guide of what's actually in the shot. Okay, so starting over. We're going to just draw, this is practice, and what the point of this exercise will do is just get you more comfortable with the actual motions of drawing. So you don't get confused. I'll do like a little square. Here I'll do a tiny X. And this is just a really easy worksheet to make yourself. Okay. So first I'm going to connect my closed dot to the closed dot. Whenever you're doing a big curve, you want to hold your pencil a little higher, because that way you can actually move with your wrist. You can actually cover ground. If you hold your pencil lower, you're going to be traveling a lot slower, and it's just going to be hard to get one smooth curve. So you want to hold it higher and get one sweeping motion. And this is going to be using the sketching technique. The sketching technique is where instead of just drawing lines really fast and dark like that, you're not going to get great art done this way, because you can't develop your shapes if you just make your lines really fast. You have no control. It's just too fast. So the sketching technique is a way of slowing yourself down in order to create shapes better. So we're going to practice it using big swoops, connecting each dot to the matching dot. Okay, so holding your pencil higher, and you don't need to erase. If you miss your target, the next dot, just try it again. There's really no need to erase. We're not making art right now, we're just practicing. So that's one way. See, this is even good practice for me, because it just practice, and then the other way is harder, usually, or it depends on the person. So you're just kind of making something like that. So yeah, you can do it if you want a couple times. See, I'm definitely less comfortable on this side of the paper than I am on the other side, making the curve go this way. So it's just practice. So is anybody having a hard time with their sketching technique, or do we all have that down? So you can just try that on each one. If you miss your target, don't worry about it. And if your line's kind of messy, don't worry about that either, because you can always clean up your lines after. You don't really need to for this, but let's say I was actually trying to draw something for real. That's okay, you can clean up your line after. The more you practice it though, should help you to get a cleaner line. See, this way is a lot less comfortable. Just for fun, so you can practice different motions, you can turn your paper over and try it now going horizontally. So the one going above, that's usually easier for people than doing the one underneath. But it's important to get comfortable moving your pencil every single way, because if you're drawing on a canvas, you don't want to keep rotating your canvas. And just in general, if you're looking at something else too, oops, sorry, move the camera. By keeping your paper in one direction instead of switching your paper to make yourself more comfortable drawing, it's just beneficial, because you might skew what you're looking at if the image you're looking at is upright and then you flip your paper over just to make yourself more comfortable. So that's what this is. Okay. Alrighty. I think we're good on that. I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes, or a minute. Yeah, just a couple more minutes if you want to keep practicing that. Okay. Good to hear, Techni. Does everyone have a cookie cutter, by the way? Because that's the next part. Aw. I know. That's the kind of hard part, is that I'm over here and I can see what I'm doing, but I can't see what you're doing. But it's good practice. And don't worry, like if you miss the dot, it doesn't matter, it's just practice. Or if your lines are really rough like that, it's okay, because you can keep practicing and then eventually you can get your sketching technique a little smoother. It's okay if your sketch looks rough, that's okay. You can always clean it up after. But the more you practice, the more your lines will look smoother and you'll get that back and forth motion of the sketching technique. Because that's important. That's really the first thing you need to learn to draw, instead of doing hard lines. Like I was showing you over here. Like if I were to make a heart with a hard line, I don't have a lot of control. We want to learn control as we continue to practice shape. Oh, okay, so you do have cookie cutters. Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on. Okay. So with the cookie cutter, this is a really fun technique because it's great practice, and it's something you'll be able to self-teach yourself as we go along, and you'll see why. Okay, so with a cookie cutter, a lot of the kids, when they see this, they're like, oh, she's gonna have me trace it. That's not what we're gonna do here. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to draw this actual shape. Before you learn how to draw three-dimensional things, it's good to learn how to draw two-dimensional things. And we're going to draw it and make it look like we trace that shape without actually tracing it. So I think it's better as you learn to start with a small goal and do it really well versus trying to like draw something really huge and then not do a great job capturing it. Let me see which one I want to draw, just like which one looks for the camera. So like if I had 3 kids, this is the one I would give the older one because it's just, there's a little more shapes going on. The hand and the flower are about the same level. Just because I feel like the bear is creating, it's just a little harder to see what I'm doing. I'm going to go with the less challenging one, just for the camera purposes. Okay. So when you tackle on a shape, you kind of need to just start someplace, right? We all have to start somewhere, as Techni loves to say. So then you kind of got to look at each shape and be like, what makes the most place where to start? I typically don't like to start at the bottom of things. It's just in general, that's usually not the case. I'm more comfortable with the top. And you could start here, you could start here, you could start here. It doesn't really matter too much, but the main thing is just to pick a place. So we're gonna tackle just a little section at a time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at our cookie cutter, and you want to make sure you're drawing the inside line, not the outside, because that won't work for our purposes. So the inside line is what we're looking at. So I'm going to do a few examples that aren't good first, just so you can see. So if I'm going to try and draw this flower, and I'm like, oh, it's round. Well, when I put my cookie cutter, I'm going to see, wow, it's really not that round, because you'll be, I mean, I don't know how well you can see on camera, but you can see the line. Like I can tell when I put the cookie cutter back on top, I went outside the lines. I didn't really look at the shape that time. I just assumed the shape. I guessed at the shape. And what we're trying to do here is slow down and really think about the way something's curved or straight. And we're also drawing it to scale. To scale means, waves at Bobo. To scale means the same size. And that's what we're going for too. So I did that too big and too round. So this time, I'm gonna slow myself down and use my sketching technique, of course. So now look how low I'm holding my pencil. It's much lower because I'm doing something that's more detailed. Okay, and so then I could put this back on top and it lines up perfectly, and that means I did a good job. Does that make sense? You guys can, yeah. I think you can see well enough on the camera despite the shadows what we're aiming for, trying to do. So I like that part. That means I can continue. So I'm just going to keep looking at the shape. I can go slow. I can bring it back as many times as I want. You just want to tackle a little thing at a time and do it well. And you can check yourself as you go along. See? I see. Oh, I need it just a little bit longer. The other thing is you want to stay fast, like steadfast to whatever you did right the beginning. Because what could happen is if maybe I did this part right, but now this part's wrong. So I want to stay true to always lining it up where I started. Alright, so I see I'm just slightly off. This needs to be rounded out just a little more. So yeah, always bring it back to the first thing you did. And it seems kind of silly. We're just drawing cookie cutters, but I'm telling you, it really, really hones in your skills because it's so objective what you're aiming for. How's everyone doing? See, now I can lift my pencil up a little bit because I'm doing a bigger curve. That gives me more flexibility. So let me see, I think I can already tell with my eyes, but just to show you, my tulip's going too long. Way too long, because look at that big gap right there. I wish this shadow wasn't so intense. But yeah. So that means, okay, I made a mistake. And that's okay, can erase. And always try not to draw too hard too, because that makes it harder to erase. And if you can see your pencil lines underneath, it's distracting. So okay, I needed to curve that in sooner. Let's see how I am now. Okay. Ooh, wow. A little sooner. It's not that pudgy. Oh. Don't worry. Because you can always erase, or you can just try again. And if it doesn't happen this class, that's okay. Now you've learned a technique. You can practice anytime. See, my top of my flower is really good. I'm finding out, oh my goodness, this needs to curve in even sooner than I thought. Wow. See, it's good practice for me. It's good practice for everybody. I feel like it should be fatter up here. Let's see. I'm noticing now I need to bring this out just slightly. When I say slightly, look, I'm like drawing on top of the line. That's fine. Almost good. Here it flattens out more. I know you have a different shape than me, but it's just so you can see the kind of thought processes that go on when trying to capture a shape correctly, whether it needs to be bringing something out or moving something in, curving something more, that kind of thing. So before I do my very bottom of my flower, I'm going to attempt the other side now. That's pretty close. I'm just gonna move my thing in. Curve that. Okay. Oh, take just a second, let you guys work. Okay, and all I have left is the bottom, and I have to look which direction these slanted lines are going. I see, okay, it's not going straight down, I have to slant them. One line is longer than the other, and then it rounds out, so you have to think what's round, what's curved, what's straight. And then we can place it back on top, and woo, it lines up perfectly. Ooh, oh my gosh, I keep shaking this camera, sorry. Well, just visually though, yeah, if I look over, I see one little difference, and visually I can see it too, without even using the pedestal piece, that this is just slightly rounder here. Okay, now, it really looks like I went in and I traced this flower with the cookie cutter, but I didn't. So, this is gonna, slowing down and using the sketching technique and just really making sure I have each thing correct as I go along. That's really gonna bring me something closer than if I didn't use my sketching technique and said, oh, that's a flower, let me draw a flower. It's got 3 sharp things, a curvy thing, and a sideways stem. Alright? If you slow down, we're gonna get something a lot closer than if we hurried it up and just guessed at the shape. Alright. Who's still working? Take your time. I can give it a couple minutes before a few minutes before I move on to the next thing. Okay, not a problem. For those of you who are already done, if you have another cookie cutter, you could try a different one. Or you could just hang out with me for a minute. So, Techni, what was your cookie cutter shape? And what snails? Just wondering. I'm just curious. I mean, there's some that will definitely take longer. Like if you were to do this bat, like this is much more challenging. So yeah, I mean, depending on your cookie cutter too, you could, if you have a more challenging cookie cutter, it'll take you more time. Okay. I'm gonna get the next worksheet prepped. I know I have one online and it's printed for you. I mean, you could print it out yourself. If you don't have a printer, it's an easy enough thing to make. Aww, that's cute. Those would be really cute cookies too. Like, that's cool. I've never seen a high heel one. I don't think I've seen a polar bear one either. Like, I have like 100 cookie cutters, but I definitely don't have those shapes. I could see the polar bear being probably more challenging than my flower was, so I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so don't mind me. I'm just gonna prep the next thing. Is there a black marker anywhere? I would like to just show one side as. Maybe a pen would be fine. What the heck? I have nothing. I have a tan marker. I'll use a pen over here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep knocking my table. Okay. Basically, right now, all I'm doing is just replicating the worksheet that I have on the link posted beneath in the channel. If you didn't print it out, you could just, I guess, draw basic hearts, and it doesn't really matter if they're super nice looking. What's gonna matter more is what they look like on the other side. So, technically, if Snail's still working and you didn't print it out, you might want to make yourself the side of the worksheet and then maybe make him one too. His creative choices, that's funny. Okay. Not a problem. Alright, so Techni, do you have the worksheet or do you have something ready to go? I mean, it doesn't take too long to make. Again, like if your hearts are kind of ugly, it doesn't matter. Because it's only what matters more is what we're going to put on the other side, because we're going to do a symmetry exercise. And I'll explain what symmetry is. Okay. Not a problem. We can just start with one heart at a time. Okay, so I'm going to move on. But Barking Snail is more than welcome to go back later and finish his polar bear. And it's something that's really a great tool because it's very independent. It's a very independent way of practicing this technique with replicating the cookie cutters. Yeah, because you don't need my eyes to check whether it's good or not. You have the cookie cutter, and that's more precise than even eyes, or even my eyes or anybody's eyes. The cookie cutter doesn't lie. So anyway, so we're gonna learn symmetry. Symmetry means what's on one side is the exact same thing on the other side, only flipped. In other words, it's the mirror image on the other side. So splitting it down the middle, what's on one side of this heart is going to be on the other side of this heart. Or, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, alrighty. So first start with making a heart. I'm going to put this, you don't need to do it, I'm just going to do it for the camera. I'm going to outline one of my hearts in black so you can see which side is the one I'm trying to replicate. Okay. So if you have kind of an ugly heart, it's not perfect, that's okay. It doesn't really matter that much, this side. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so the technique to symmetry when trying to replicate, so we don't have a cookie cutter here. This time we're gonna have to rely more on our eyeballs. Hi, Isayasa. I know I don't normally have the window open because normally I don't work flat. I'm just doing this for the drawing class I'm teaching. So yeah, I got all kinds of sunshine on me. Okay, so we have half a heart. So what we're trying to do is replicate it, but flip it on the other side. So we have a whole heart. Okay. So what you have to think about is, so just like the cookie cutters, it's a two-dimensional shape. But we want to think about the shape itself and the shape in between the shapes. So if I have a heart over here, just a heart, you can see that was not even good. I'll make them better, but you know, whatever, it doesn't matter because that was a quick thing. Anyway, you can see in between the heart, if I make a line here, that's a triangle. Alright, so that's called negative shape. The space in between shapes, that's the negative shape. Positive shape is a shape itself, what we're used to thinking of as a shape. Okay, so when we're gonna, just like the cookie cutter, we only tackled a little bit at a time. Woo! Sorry, that scared the hell out of me! Oh my god! Oh my god, that must have been really loud for you too. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I am so sorry for that. Thank you, Isayasa. Well, okay, I have my computer blasted because I had a party last night and I don't have like a CD player in the other room, so I just blasted my computer and opened all the doors. No, it's not your fault, Isayasa. I totally forgot that my computer was on full volume. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, everyone. That was my fault, but thank you so much, Isayasa. Oh my god. That might be worth clipping. Jesus. Aww. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna start with the shapes. So just like the cookie cutters, we only tackle one little bit at a time. So I'm gonna start here at the top, and I'm gonna move up a little bit, and I'm just gonna stop it right. I'll keep it here for now. I know that's a little bit wrong, but just for the sake of it. So then I play a game with myself, and I call it this distance, that distance. So I say this distance, that distance. That's good. And you can actually feel it with your pencil, like with your hand. If something's too far, you will physically be able to feel it as well. So this distance, that distance. This distance, that. I know it's going to be really annoying, and after a while just say it in your head. But or I mean, I will at some point say it in my head because I'm going to annoy you. This distance, that distance. This distance, that distance. So I know, I can feel it, this is too close compared to the other side. That means I need to bring it out more to make it the same. And they also need to end at the same height. Alright, so now I'm looking at my negative shape. And I'm gonna ask myself, you don't have to color yours in, I'm just doing it for the camera. Okay, but I asked myself, does this shape in between look the same as this white shape? And yes, it looks the same to me. Alright, so now I'm going to curve. I'm going to try and replicate the curve. This is where it gets kind of tricky, but you can always just start with something and then tweak it after. And then I'm just gonna connect. And that should be fine. Alright, so I'm gonna play the game with myself. This distance, that distance, this distance, that distance, distance. This one might be a little farther. This distance, yeah. Alright, and now I have symmetry. I think I need to bring that distance slightly. Now I'm really just nitpicking at this point, but that's essentially what we're doing. Okay. Alright, so the next one. I drew this heart really fast, and it's kind of an ugly heart, but it doesn't matter. It's just that we get the heart to look the same on the other side. So I'm going to start with the inner heart and then go around. This one's just a little more complicated. Not bad, though. Because you're drawing multiple hearts at the same time. So this one's going to take longer. And I play the game again. So this and that. Yeah, this one's definitely more challenging. I might want to... Maybe we should save this one for the end. Let's do this one next, because that one's harder, so I'd rather save it for later. So here, this is especially the point where you want to look to see if they're one coming at the same height, and if they're the same distance across. I think this is good for me too, because I've been doing mostly painting, so I haven't had a lot of drawing practice where it's really focused on just the drawing in a while, and I think that's it's good. It's good even if you're already more experienced with painting to sometimes just get back to basics. So I'm happy with it. Again, if I had a heart where I'll do one over here. And then you can see if it's like that, like, well, that's really obvious example, but you see it clearly. This is going up higher than that side. It's way wider than this side. Not at all alike, so we don't want that. Okay, so you know how I talked about always using the sketching technique? There's exceptions. If you have tiny little shapes like these little bumps on the side of the heart, it's basically too small for you to really ooh, I'm gonna use my sketching technique. It's just, no, it's too small. So you can want to get right down to the bottom of your pencil so you can have more control with these little tiny details. Basically, I'm just looking to do the same amount on one side as the other side. This one's off, I can see it. I like this heart more, but that doesn't matter, I'm trying to replicate. And I think it's this distance and this distance. This one, I can feel it. I'm having to stretch my fingers farther to get to the other side. Yeah. So that means I gotta bring it out more. How's everyone doing? So, I think symmetry is really good to do when you're learning how to draw, because when you're learning how to draw, you want to give yourself something relatively simple to tackle, but something you can accomplish with precision. So it's very, very objective. I mean, I wouldn't really call this creative drawing yet. This is just getting those techniques down, so you can build your skill sets and then make prettier things later. So, yeah, so this is important. I want to see, like, mine's too short on this end with this arrow. Make sure it's just as thin, or the width is the same as the other side too. Hey, what's up, chat? Oh, hi, Relatable. You're catching the end. You're catching the end, but you're still welcome. More than welcome to watch. Here's the other thing too. If you wanted a really great arrow, there is symmetry in this arrow. It's just horizontal symmetry. So I could actually fix this and make it a little better by getting this distance the same and this distance. Now I'm going to erase this line. See? Alrighty. So I guess this is still kind of like after Valentine's. Oh no, it's not a different location. I just opened my window that's normally closed, and I moved the camera. Well, you're catching the end of the lesson, because you don't want, like, lessons are good at about an hour to an hour and a half. After that point, like, you're fried. Especially when I teach kids, like, they're fried at that point. If I was to do a painting class, that's a little different. You can get away with a little bit longer of a lesson, but because this is just learning the basics, and it's very new. Yeah, it is. It's going back to basics, exactly. You wouldn't want this to be too long of a class. Okay. Alrighty, now we have this one. This is the doozy, because there's so many in one. So we always want to make sure we don't start the heart above it. You always start it where the corner is. And each one of these is important. And you have to look. So you're not only looking at this distance, but you're looking at all these distances as you create another shape in between. Those all should pretty much be the same too. That's why this one's tricky. Yeah, I need a marker for where my camera line is. Okay. But I will replay this one. So anybody who missed this lesson, I'll put it to my YouTube and I'll replay it at some point. Because this lesson is, I don't know, like, it's the one to me where I've started every single kid off, no matter how small or how inexperienced at art, and it's just been able to get to them to the place where they can actually draw. And it's too bad I can't see your symmetry, but at least you still kind of get the idea and you get an understanding of what your objectives are and what you're looking for. Okay, so I'm done with my hearts. I'll give you guys a few minutes, and then I'll explain the other things on my website that you can work on. I have more worksheets and they're fitting because they're still kind of in keeping with the Valentine's mood, since Valentine's still just passed. I could have put this back on. Yay! And now we're in the spirit of love again. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, you can't even see those hearts because they're red on black. Red on black is always bad contrast. Anyway. Alright, so next, if you go down my channel, you'll see the link for the worksheets. So I just want to explain them really quick. Let's see. Maybe I can drop this camera for a bit. Let's do my desktop. No, let's drop this camera. Okay. So this way. You can kind of see what we're working with. Okay, so this one, that's a swan. This is not too challenging. If you at home want to, you can print it out. It's just, you know, finish the swan kind of thing. This is just working on shape. And some of it's done for you, so that's going to make it easier. And it's also good to see, okay, what's the difference between these two images? That's something you constantly play to yourself, especially when you're looking at a photograph or trying to replicate something. And then this one's harder because you have symmetry, right? So you would make a line down the middle of this flower pot. You'd make a line down the middle of this flower pot and you'd want to replicate the symmetry. You're going to play with yourself this distance, that distance, and then this is just shape. So usually I start with the top. For this one I would start with the bottom, especially because these are already drawn in. So you'd start with this shape, then build, and then build, and then build, and keep building. And then the idea is to try and replicate this rose 3 different times, and it's tricky because each time they're turned. So this would be the hardest one in the worksheet to complete if you were to choose to do so. Hi, RICP! Yeah, I know, I definitely prefer to be called, Nami here. Monica's my boring real-life name. I prefer Nami. It's just that's how I marketed myself before. So, yep. Okay. Alright, so does anybody, before I conclude this lesson, does anybody have any questions? Or does anybody want to share how this experience was for them, or if they found it helpful? Or, I don't know.